Okay, so we've got a couple of bits of Dyneema that we're going to need to join. The join needs to be about 500mm long. The book says 100 times the diameter of the Dyneema, 5mm Dyneema, 500mm. So the complete join will be 500mm long. If we measure roughly in the middle at 25mm and put a mark both places, and then we're going to use what is called a fid, and we're going to put one end of the cable through the other. When we go through, we need to make sure we actually go through with the individual strands and not through the bits itself, if you know what I mean. How to rephrase that, but anyway, pop that into there, pop that through there, and take it up to the mark that we've got there. Then we want to put the other piece back through this side. And now we've got both together, and we can pull that tight together, and that's the start of the join. Now I find it easier at this stage to taper these ends down, and we want to taper down about 100mm. So this is 12 strand cable, so we need to pull out, I reckon, 6 all the way tapering down. Three, 4. If you end up pulling the one out that you've already pulled, then go to another one and pull that out. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that should do. And then we need to cut those off. The scissors we need to use need to be quite special, and the trick seems to be the serrated edge, and these are scissors are made for cutting cloth in a first aid situation when you want to cut clothes off people. So as you can see, it is actually quite tough stuff. And we'll stop at that while Okay, we've got both ends tapered down. Now we're going to take this tool here and thread it down through the middle of the material. And this is nice new Dyneema, which makes life a lot easier in the real world, which I'll show you in a minute. We're going to be using much older and more worn cable, which is more difficult to handle. We'll pop out of there. We want to grab this end now into here and pull it carefully back up through the middle. That's come out of there quite nicely. got a bit still sticking out the end there, which I will cut off rather than, I'll start the other end from a bit further up. On a bit of a learning curve here still. And we'll come into this one. A bit higher. Those bits. The reason I taper this down first is if you don't, it's a job to pull this down through the middle at double thickness. But if you do it this way, it seems to work quite well. And there we have a joined piece of Dyneema. Apparently 90% of the original strength in a join. Well, that was joining a piece of brand new Dyneema, but the real world we're going to be living in is a little bit different. When you've used this stuff, and this was a piece of cable that's done several thousand launches, you can see that it actually is significantly thinner and it's quite hard, and you need to soften it up before you even start to think about joining the stuff. And you do that by going around a sharp edge. Or an edge which actually will soften this stuff up. And you do this several times, and then you get to the point where the weave is actually manageable. Whereas in the stuff we haven't softened up, you can see it really is pretty horrible. So once you've got into this state, then you can start thinking about joining it. And obviously what I'm going to do to start with is to cut it. Easier said than done, I can tell you, but let's give it a go. Right, now we've got a cut, we've got some fairly soft and pliable. We're going to go to the 500mm again, which is about there. Put a mark in the middle, 25mm, 25mm, and pass one piece through the other. So as you can see, this is not as easy to deal with as the new Dyneema. Tuck it into the fid, pop it through, and then go back through this bit, pop it through, tighten it up, and then once again slim down the last 100 ml to about half thickness, and I'll stop. Okay, that's got both ends tapered down nicely. Now we need to feed the other fid back down through the middle, and this is where it gets a little bit more tricky with this older cable. It's why it's well worth making sure it's well freed up before you even try and do this. Popped out the side quite easily to do that. Trying to come out of the side of the back off a bit and try again. Right, now we're there. Come out of there. Open this up. And hopefully draw this carefully back down through the middle. You've got it back. And once again, I've left a bit hanging at the end, which I need to improve that. Problem is, this bit shortens because it's being opened up, and it would probably pull that back in, but I'll probably cut it off. So I'll try this bit. I'm going to loosen this up a bit. This is quite tight. I'm never going to get the tool down the middle of that. Right, I start quite well above my 250 mark. Just likes to pop out of the side all the time. That's still a bit tight there, that's the problem. pull this back up through the middle of there. There we go, we're through. And there we have it, one joined piece of Dyneema. I'm sure with practice it gets easier. In fact, I know it does because I've done a few now. But the idea is to taper the joint. You won't feel it going through the rollers on the winch when you're on the glider because it would just be nice and tapered. Great.